perfectly timed discussion because of the things that are going on in the oil markets, silver markets, lots and lots of call skew here and tail risk, at least priced into those options. So
I think the products you just named, the future type products, are the one where this is the most prevalent.
Sure. Yeah. Well, you see it in like a Tesla and an Nvidia, and on the downside, you can SPY and Q.
You can.
But this is just a good thing to understand. So,
but I'm sorry to interrupt you again. You don't get those 4 or 5 standard deviation moves in the products you just named unless they're a lot less frequent than when you do in the future side.
Yes, for sure. So just talking through the distribution and where you can see skew in a normal, which is not skewed distribution, you will see basically an equal distribution on either side. If the put $10 out of the money is a 20 delta, the call $20 out of the money would be a 10 delta, or would be a $10 out of the money would be a 20 delta. It'd be the same exact thing. When you're looking at a distribution, 68% of the data is within a 1 standard deviation. So that's your 1 standard deviation range. When you go to 2 standard deviations, it incorporates 95% of the expected distribution. When you get to 3, it's 99.7. I think 4 standard deviation is 99.9 or 99.8.
Keeps having it.
8.5.
Yeah.
So this is just what a normal distribution looks like. In financial markets, most distributions are not normal. So we consider them to be
abnormal.
Well, sometimes like you'll see a skew, and so we often see the skew on either the down or upside, depending on the asset. So on the downside, you typically see the skew more so in like a SPY or the Qs, where the velocity of risk, the big movements in the market are typically to the downside. In something like a gold or silver, or an asset that has a perceived floor, like silver is always going to be worth something, oil is always going to be worth something, generally speaking, even though we did see negative prices at one point, you'll typically see positive skew, which the distribution essentially just kind of moves towards the upside. There's a fatter tail on the upside, whereas there's a fatter tail on the downside, and that tail is the 3 standard deviation move. That's your kind of like, black swan type pricing that you see on the downside in equities. Typically, you see it on the upside in something like gold or silver or commodity.
Perfect.
So to better understand skew, we're going to take a look at 2 events where you saw significant skew and you saw realized tail risk. The 2 that we're going to look at, and we're going to look at these in distributions, are going to be the 2020 stock market crash. I'm glad we're considering it a crash. You didn't consider it a crash, even though it was 30% to the downside, 40% to the downside. Wasn't a crash for you, right?
It's too fast of a crash for me.
It was too fast of a crash and too fast of a bounce.
If you blinked, you missed it.
Yeah, the boomer crash is one where you go down and then you stay down for a little bit and you kind of
got some time to relax and enjoy it.
Yeah,
see some value out there. Yeah, make some generational wealth.
Yeah, the millennial Zoomer crash is V.
V shaped. That's bull.
So we're gonna look at the February to April time frame, which was about 50 days in the 2020 crash, COVID. And then we're going to look at the post-2020 crash, which we're taking April to June, which is about 50 days as well, trading days. And we're going to look at the distribution of those returns to show you skew and tail risk in real time. And so when we look at those distributions together on the next slide here, we're going to look at the number of days SPY experienced a certain percentage return during that period of time. And so when you get to the next slide here, guys, there's a negative skew in the price of options when there is a market crash. You see that the moves to the down, we had more moves to the downside when the market was crashing over those 50 days. When you're looking at this graph, you see the percentage change on the bottom, and then you see the number of days that we had that percentage change. If this was a normal distribution, you'd see this be even across the board.
Right.
This is a downside skewed distribution. This is a tail to the downside, and that's what you're seeing here in this distribution. You see this negative skew that is in the market during that period of time. You had a lot more of the distribution skewed to the downside during that period of time. When you look at the up move, this is a positively skewed distribution. And so you can see you would expect this to be kind of even on both sides. This is skewed to the upside. You can see you have, a handful of occurrences that were 4 to 10% up move, whereas you had none to the downside. And so this is a positively skewed distribution of returns over that period of time. And you can see the majority of them are centered around zero. You still have that kind of, most are within the, call it standard deviation, but the tails were to the upside in that distribution. Mm-hmm. And so when you put those together side by side, you can see negative skew has been much deeper, right? So you have these bigger moves. Like if you put these together, what you're looking at is, huge down moves and huge up moves in the same amount in terms of days. Where are the tails fatter? And in SPY, the tails are going to be fatter to the downside. You can see there's a handful of occurrences that were 10 to 12% down moves, 12 to 14%, all the way down to 14 to 16% downside moves, whereas the upside tails are limited to, like, let's say 4 to 6, 6 to 8, 8 to 10% up moves. There's a much wider downside than there is upside, and that is why there is skew on the downside in SPY. So the absolute value of the outlier moves is larger in the negative skew. So when you're having downside moves, all else being equal, you typically see much greater downside moves in something like SPY or QQQ than you do upside moves on these tail type events.
Yeah, and the opposite side of that would be, that's why it's on a per strike basis. A bullish position selling puts, 1x2 put spreads, or anything else like that in an SPY or a Qs pays you so much more for the same amount of risk, same delta risk that you would on the call side.
Because of that downside risk, that skew, that when something happens in the market.
Perceived risk, but yeah.
The perceived risk
we're at all-time highs,
is bigger to the downside.
Yep. Good one.
And so, just in general, if SPY has a move larger than a 3 standard deviation, the probability it moves to the downside is about, like if you take all of those 3 standard deviation moves, 67% of them are to the downside versus 32% of them to the upside. It's exactly what you were seeing in that 100-day sample there. Most of the biggest moves are going to be to the downside, just in general. So most of the time in the market, option price returns will result in negative skew, and thus you have this negative tail risk. You see downside options priced a lot higher, a lot further out of the money than upside call options. Rarely or seldom, option price returns will result in positive skew, and thus the positive tail, the reward for upside or market recoveries, is typically cheaper. It's cheaper to speculate on that upside versus hedging to the downside. The hedging on the downside is always the more expensive trade in something like a SPY. That's flipped in something like oil or silver. And just generally, the biggest market moves are to the downside. It's tail risk. The black swan is bigger on the downside versus the upside.
It's cheaper to keep her. Keep going.
So when we get into kurtosis, we're getting a little bit spicy here. So unlike skew, which is the measure of symmetry of the distribution, so you would expect there to be equal symmetry if there was no skew. Kurtosis quantifies the extreme outlier values in either tail. And so you typically see more kurtosis when volatility is low. The right side distribution has a much wider kurtosis because the distribution is centered in the middle. You have this tighter distribution, whereas the tails are much wider and wider based on percentage, but are further out of the money. And so the kurtosis effectively is a metric of how heavy the tails of the distribution are compared to the normal distribution. So it's how much further out of the money those options, the tail options are. The the two delta options, for example. The further, if an asset has those further out of the money, there's more kurtosis than another one.
Very good. Nice little piece here on Skew.
Couple takeaways just to give you some little bullet points here. Most of the time, markets experience negative skew and negative tail risk, so pricing in bigger moves to the downside. Kurtosis is a way to measure the outlier risk of an underlying and the extent to which the underlying returns deviate from the normal assumption. So this is just another way to kind of look at a normal distribution. So using skew and kurtosis together, a trader is able to see how much tail risk there is in the market and quantify those probabilities. I don't think I'm calculating or really looking at kurtosis all the time, but it is a nice thing to know and understand.